So today we're going to cover a tattoo using our airbrush. So we're going to take a tattoo like this and we're going to go ahead and show you all of the different techniques that you can use to cover something like this. We're going to talk about a couple of them, going to show you a few of them, but we're going to blot that thing totally out. We're going to go ahead and make it match her skin tone. We're going to deal with that shading between those light areas of your underarm and the more tan areas of the outer side of your arm. We're going to go through all of that so you can see what it takes to cover a tattoo. And then once that's done and we've matched her skin tone exactly, we're going to go ahead and seal it up. And then I'm going to show you some finishing techniques to really make that paint look like skin. We're going to go ahead and seal it. We're going to go ahead and put a little lotion on top of it. That's really going to set it into the skin. It's a fun process, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So strap in. This is what we've got in store today, and we'll have some fun with this. Hi, my name is Adam Walls, and I'm an award-winning makeup artist. You may have seen my work in Hulu's The First. Are you curious about how to cover a tattoo while using airbrush pigments? Well, come with me today and we're going to find out. So this is my friend Amy, and she so graciously sat down with me today to give me a hand. She has this great colorful tattoo that I thought would be an amazing example of a tattoo cover. So we're going to start our cover by cleaning the skin, and you can do this with either one of two products. You can use Kiehl's Blue Astringent, which is a great product that helps to remove all those oils and dirt from the skin that can prevent your tattoo from adhering. Or in this case, I'm actually using 70% alcohol, which essentially does the same thing. Once the skin's been cleaned, our next job is to paint out the existing design. In this case, I'm using a lighter generic skin tone color to essentially blot out the existing tattoo. Now, there are many ways to blot out an existing tattoo. You could go in with an adjuster color, like pink or coral or yellow or oranges to neutralize the tattoo colors. The idea behind this is by neutralizing the colors at the start, you'd have a more natural undertone to paint on top of. The downside is that sometimes if you don't exactly neutralize that color perfectly, you'll find yourself having to color correct your color correction, which is kind of a pain, and why create the extra step for yourself? I find it's just easier to go in with a generic skin tone color, just lighter than the actor's skin, to really eliminate the existing tattoo completely. The initial color that I'm using is an EBA paint called Endura W2. It's a nice light skin tone color that does a really good job of blocking the tattoo colors out. The EBA pigments are really great because they tend to be flexible, which, let's be honest, it's a great trait to have, especially when it's designed to go onto the skin, but they also have a higher opacity level, so you can easily block the colors out with those EBA colors. When spraying, make sure to get all parts of your actor's anatomy. Really take care to get into those spots that are on the back side of the arm. I know sometimes it's hard to see on the underside, but try to put yourself and your actor into any position that you need to access all of those areas successfully. Have your actor put their arm up, put their arm down, out to the side, or you can get down below and spray your pigments up. Look, any way that you can get the color on the skin effectively is the best way to go. Get creative and think outside the box if you have to. Once you're finished spraying with that first color, I like to start using the adjuster colors. In this case, I'm going to go in with the Skin Illustrator product called Olive Adjuster. You can see that I'm spraying that adjuster all over her arm. Amy has lots of olive tones in her arm, so I'm using that to match her green undertones as our initial paint pass. One thing that I like to do is I like to spatter my paint onto the skin. If you watch me paint, you'll notice that I'm spattering most of these colors. When you think about it, skin is made up of all sorts of different colored tiny dots, so I'm trying to replicate that same idea. It's pointillism, just on the skin. So how am I achieving this? Super easy. I basically have taken the cone of my airbrush and I've opened it up, dropped the pressure on my air compressor, and this will cause the airbrush to spit the paint and give you all those awesome little dots. Can you see how things are starting to lean a little on the warm side? I'm noticing yellow hues on her arm. Also, look at Amy's hands. Do you notice the hints of purple? Because of that, the next color that I'm going to use here is bruise tone. Remember that purple is across from yellow on the color wheel, which is why that bruise tone is going to even out that yellow. Besides, Amy does have those natural purple hue undertones, so that bruise tone is going to be pulling double duty for us today. Can you see the spray pattern that I'm painting? By spattering your paint, you can more easily replicate what the skin realistically looks like. And let's face it, that's kind of what we're going for. One thing you really need to keep an eye on are your transition areas. If you don't blend the edges of your tattoo cover properly, you can throw the entire effect off. You can see that I'm spending the time making sure that my transition areas around her shoulder look natural. Remember, if your tattoo cover is going to work, you got to make sure that it blends seamlessly from your painted cover to the skin naturally. Speaking of transition areas, the underside of the arm is always a lighter color, and many times the transition from the cover on the top of the arm to the underside can be challenging. So I'm using a Skin Illustrator color called Rice Paper, and I'm spattering that on her underarm just to brighten that area up. Even though we've painted all over with our base tones, you'll notice that I'm starting to differentiate between the warmer color temperature on the outside of the arm versus the cooler and lighter tone on the underside of the arm. Again, really take care to focus on those transition areas of those two color temperatures. You can find yourself getting into trouble in those areas if you don't focus on them. Did you see how Amy put her arms together for me? I'm comparing and contrasting my paint job to her other arm, just to make sure that the colors are right. Her outer arm needs to be warmed up some, so I'm going in with another Skin Illustrator product called Natural 2 to achieve this. That part of the body gets the most amount of sun, so I'm trying to make sure that those areas of the arm look sun-kissed to match her other arm. Once you had that on, just go ahead and keep going over all those different areas of the anatomy just to make sure that everything blends right. Also, continue to check your work. I find that as I work, I notice things that didn't catch my eye at first. It's almost as if I'm checking off a visual to-do list, if that makes any sense. So at this point, I spend a little time to make sure that I'm not seeing a hint of a faded tattoo underneath. Once we finish up with our paint job, we want to make sure that we seal up the entire cover. In this case, we're going to be using EVA Pro Seal. I've added 99% alcohol and I've thinned it down so I can run it through my airbrush. To get a really powerful solid coat, I've opened up the cone on my airbrush and I've turned the pressure on that way up to make sure that I'm getting a nice solid coat of sealer over the entire tattoo cover. You'll notice that you're going to get some crepey areas where the skin folds, especially on that inner elbow area. Unfortunately, when you're putting any sort of pigment on the human body, that pigment is going to crepe up a little bit. You know, the longer I do this as a career, the more I notice that different skin types will react differently. Sometimes it's no issue, and sometimes things will become very textured. One solution is Dermalogica Active Moist. It's a great product, and it's not totally going to get rid of the crepiness, but it's going to help. It'll help things settle down, and it'll allow things to settle into the skin. Also, the Active Moist is going to give a bit of a sheen to the skin, so it's going to look a little bit more natural and a little bit more realistic. It's those little touches that really ratchet your makeup up a notch, taking it from good to great. I like Active Moist because it's water-based. A lot of lotions out there are oil-based, and you want to make sure that you're not using one of those, because if you do, the oils will break down your sealer and all of those pigments that you've put on your skin. The last thing you want to be dealing with is halfway through the day is your tattoo cover breaking down because you put the wrong thing over top. Save yourself the headache and don't even do it. But as you can see, the more that you apply, the more the skin starts to gain that natural glow or dewiness that makes the skin look really good to the eye. Now, can you see those lines by your elbow? Those lines are actually scarring from the tattoo pen when it was originally done. Many times you'll have an actor who'll come in with extensive tattoos and you can put a tattoo cover on, but you still see some of those lines because the anatomy is actually raised underneath. That's one of those things that you can't really get rid of with paint. In most cases, the camera is not going to see any of that, especially if the light is working with you as your friend that day. Now, if you're dealing with extreme close-ups, or if it does become an issue, you can always use a prosthetic blender, or even try to stipple Prozade cream over top to camouflage the scar, but most of the time it's not a deal killer. So, I think that's about it. Everything seems to be looking all right, color seems to match, and I'm not noticing any ghostly tattoo lines peeking through our cover. That means it's going to be mission accomplished for us. Just remember, tattoos can be a heck of a lot of fun to cover. On the flip side, they can also get really frustrating, especially if you don't have the right colors. When attempting a tattoo cover, always make sure that you have a wide variety of colors to choose from, because an actor can be any color, and you want to be prepared for any situation. So, I think that's going to do it for us. Have you tried to cover a tattoo before? Do you have a different technique that you find works really well? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you like this video, give it a quick like and subscribe to the channel because we've got all sorts of new stuff dropping all the time. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and as always, keep making cool stuff.